Marilyn, I'm going to start recording the session.
Yes, please. We're going to get started in about 1 minute. Nice to see everyone. All right, it is now 9 o'clock and we're going to get started. I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting. I'm glad you're all able to join us. Hopefully you will learn something useful, that you will be better able to do PBE next Sabbath. We enjoy having you here. I want to especially welcome our friends from across the pond. I see most of the British teams already joined in, and it's exciting to have you with us. A couple of things, if you're just joining, please sign in the chat with your name, and if you're the scribe, I know you're the scribe. If you're not the scribe, just let me know that also. We're trying to take a role to make sure all the teams are covered, that everybody gets the best training we can give them so that next Sabbath is a success. And technology is not your stumbling block, that we'd like the technology to work smoothly. I appreciate you being here. This meeting is going to be run by Key Song. He is with the NAD tech team. He's there waving at you. He is our expert at connectivity and Nearpod and all things computer. So I'm going to have prayer with all of you, and we're going to give the floor to Key. So if you would all bow your heads. Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for being with us in this difficult time. We are meeting via Zoom because that is how you want us to meet. This is the world we live in, and I know that you will bless us in the things that we do as long as we follow you. So give us clarity of mind, understanding, help us to always do your will. In Jesus' name, amen. So Key, you have the floor.
Amen. All right. So, welcome everyone to our first of two Scribe training sessions. So the first question that I want to ask everyone is, if you have not used Nearpod before, whether it's for school or for PBE, can you just put in the chat, say, I've never used Nearpod before? My understanding is most of you have used Nearpod before for PBE at one level or another, but there may be some of you that have never used Nearpod before. So if you have not, please put it in the chat. Okay. All right. I see Abraham has never used Nearpod before. Okay. Hold on 1 second. All right. I think that's it. All right, good. So that's a good thing that most of us have used Nearpod before. So just as a refresher, Nearpod is going to be the tool that we use to be able to take the test for the NAD level PBE session. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen, and all of you are here because you have been designated as the scribe for your team. Okay. So just to clarify, the scribe is the person that is going to be a team member, right? One of the 6 team members that's going to have the computer in front of them and is going to be the one that's logging into Nearpod, and then is the person that's going to be entering in to Nearpod the answers to each question. Okay, so you have a very, very critical role in making sure that your team's answers get recorded and sent to the judges correctly and on time. Okay, so in order to be able to do that, what I've done is created a checklist. And to be able to download this checklist, I'm going to put this link into the chat. What you can do is I'm gonna put this link into the chat so you can download your own copy of this and add it to your own Google account. So you can do like I did and print out a blank copy, okay? And then you can write in all of the information on this side. Or if you want, if you're like me, you can copy this into your Google account. When you get these pieces of information, you can type it in and then print out a typed in copy of it. Or you can just open it up. So the first thing is I'm gonna just go over the schedule really quick and then go over these checklist items. So number one, let's go over the schedule. Friday, and all the times that I talk about will be in Eastern time zone. So right now in the Eastern time zone, it's 10 a.m. And that's how I'm going to be referencing the time zone because we have people from all over the world here. Okay. So next Friday, April 16th at 8 p.m., there's going to be a worship service. I encourage everyone to join. That worship service is going to be broadcast through nadpbe.org. There's going to be a link at the top that says live stream, and you can click on that link and you'll be able to view the worship service during that time. So that's number one. 8 p.m. Friday evening is going to be a worship service. For that, just join the NAD PBE website and you can view the worship service that's prepared for you that evening. Okay. Sabbath morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time is when the check-in begins. So there's what we've experienced in the past several sessions leading up to NAD is there's some challenges logging in and getting set up for the test, specifically for Nearpod. So that's why even though the testing begins at 12 p.m., we're going to allow teams and people are going to be ready to start checking people into Nearpod and everything starting at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, so that's when you can start logging into Nearpod. 10:30 a.m. is when the worship begins. Again, it's going to be on the NAD PBE website. You can just click on you can go there, watch it through the live stream. 11:30 a.m. is when the opening announcements begins. So that will be just a time where the organizers will be having prayer, maybe a short devotion, going over the rules. All of those opening announcements section is going to start at 11:30 a.m. Exactly at noon, so 12 p.m., is when the Nearpod testing session will begin. After 45 questions, just like every other session before this, there will be a 20-minute break. So you can do whatever you need to do. Get a snack, go to the restroom, whatever you need to do. There will be a 20-minute session. During that time, please remember to not log off of Nearpod. Okay, keep your computer on. Don't log off of Nearpod. Just make sure that everything is still up and running. Because if you do, then there's going to be a longer delay. Okay, and then after the 20-minute break, we'll continue with the second half of the testing. And whenever that finishes, that will be the end of the session for that Sabbath. 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, the next day, is when the closing ceremony will begin. That's when we're going to do, among other things, that is when we will announce through a live stream the placements for your teams. Okay, so that's the general schedule, overall schedule. Specifically, let's go over your duties as a scribe. Okay, so the scribe, you guys have a very, very critical role in making sure that the testing session goes well. Sometime before the actual check-in time, I don't know exactly when. It may be a day before, it may be a few hours before. We will provide you with a Nearpod lesson code. Okay, so for those that are familiar, it's gonna look something like this. Okay, so this is not the real one, but why don't you do this as a test if you want. Let's say this was a code that you are given on the day of the test. We're going to give you this code, and what you do is on your computer, go to nearpod.com and enter in this code into this student section where it says join a lesson. Enter in that code. Okay, and then the next screen that will be displayed for you as a scribe is this screen where you can enter in two different things. Okay, this is very, very important that you put the information into these fields correctly. I'm going to go over each one of these. The first one, it's labeled as a name field, but that's actually going to be your unique number or code that we have assigned to you. We will give you this code within the next few days. We're going to email it to your coaches. So that's what you're going to enter into here is your team code. Okay, your unique team number or team code. In the second field where it says other optional name, that is where you type in your club name / your team name. So let me do this right now. So let's say I'm going to do this for my team. My team was given, as an example, the code of 9F005. So that's the only thing that I would put in there. It's going to be a combination of numbers and letters. The capitalization, the case doesn't necessarily matter, but this piece is critical that you get it, you type it in exactly the way that you are, it's given to you. So in your checklist, what I would write or type into here would be the code for your Nearpod session. That's one. And that's going to be shared by all the teams in your union. Okay. That's not unique. This one, the team number in the name field, that will be unique to your team. Okay. And then the other field is going to be your club name and your team name. Now, this one, for example, my club name is the Fairview Flames, and then the team name, we are the Fiery Flamingos. Okay, so this one, it's not as, to be honest, it's not as critical as making sure that this is 100% accurate. This one is important. This is important, but it's not 100% necessary that it's exactly the way that you have submitted it. It's ideal, but it's not 100% required. So let's say I join, and then me, as on my side, I will be able to see the teams that are logged in, and I can already see here. I'll see all the teams, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at this number and check it off on my list of all the teams that are supposed to log in. This one, it looks like this person did not log in correctly. They did not enter in the correct team code. So what I'm going to do on the day of the event during the check-in time is I'm gonna remove you from the session. So if you log into Nearpod and you get logged out for some reason and somebody kicks you out, I'm gonna let your monitor know and tell them that, hey, this team did not log into Nearpod correctly, so I kicked them out, and you're gonna have to try to log in again. Okay, so just that's the most critical part of this training session, is making sure that your team number, as we have assigned to you, is entered in correctly into the name field when you're logging into Nearpod. Any questions? Okay, so I would write down your lesson code. That's what you're going to use to log into Nearpod. Write down your team number, and that's what you're going to put into the name field. The team name, you could put that down right now if you want, with your club name and your team name. For some, yes.
I just interrupt just a second.
Okay.
When you get your team number email, it'll go to the director and the coach. There'll be a team name. That is the preferred name you use. It makes it easier for us, because we find that not even within a same club do people enter their church name the same. So if you would use the one that we send you, it makes our life easier. You're not going to get kicked out if you don't get it exactly right, the capitals and the spacing. But it is important that we can identify your church. And don't assume that your church, just because it's called Central, we know which Central it is. There's probably a Central church to half the cities in America. I don't know about England, but there's a lot of them called Central Seventh-day Adventist Church, and you don't know which Central it is. So we've taken the name you've given us and made a shortened version that is unique to your church to help us identify you. So if you use that, that's helpful. But as Key was saying, that code that you get is critical.
Yeah. All right. Great clarification, Marilyn. Okay. Moving on. I know that some of your teams will be joining in what we are calling a virtual mode. What does that mean? That means that your team, all 6 or 7 members of your team, will be logging into your own Zoom session, okay? Meaning a virtual team where none of the team members are physically in the same location. That's one scenario. The other scenario is some teams will be meeting in one central location and then logging into Nearpod together. For those that are meeting virtually, right, where all the team members are logging in from their own homes, for example, it would be good if you just write down your Zoom meeting code, and if you need a PIN or password, write that down here as well. But this is really only applicable for teams that are meeting virtually. Okay, for those that are meeting in the same, and just to clarify, my understanding, Marilyn, is that these Zoom meetings, the ones where the teams are supposed to meet by themselves, that is going to be handled by either each team or by each union. We, the NAD, are not going to be supplying this team Zoom meeting code at all.
Correct.
Okay.
The teams and their conference representatives will work that out with them.
Right.
The division does not know how they're doing it or any of the sessions that are being set up.
Got it. Okay. So just for your reference, I like to have these types of checklists. If you have one, write it down so that you're not scrambling for it later on. The other part, what we found is, depending on the device that you use, you may have some sort of like a spell check or autocorrect feature enabled in your browser, so that, for example, while you're entering in an answer into Nearpod, your computer, not Nearpod, but your computer may inadvertently autocorrect the answer that you typed. So whatever you need to do, if you have that autocorrect functionality enabled on your computer, then I would recommend that you turn that off so that the your computer does not accidentally autocorrect an answer, something that you typed. Okay, so turn that off prior to the day of the test and make sure that it's turned off. The next item is you want to make sure that wherever you are, your computer specifically is most important. It's important that everybody's computer has a stable internet connection, but your computer, because you are the one that is entering in the answer into Nearpod, you absolutely must have a stable internet connection. If you have the ability, what we found is like a hardwire connection is most stable, like a physical cable that plugs into your computer. If you don't have that, a stable Wi-Fi connection, maybe you're very close to a room where the router is located, the Wi-Fi router is located. But this is absolutely critical, because if you get kicked off of Nearpod or your internet connection is unstable, then it's going to cause you to have a pretty stressful day, because you're not going to be able to enter in the questions into Nearpod correctly. The next one is, this is common for everybody. You just want to make sure that your webcam is enabled and on the entire time, like everybody else. And then for your reference, I'm just thinking, if you're in a virtual situation and you get disconnected from the internet, we have assigned to each team a monitor. So I would write down your monitor's name and your monitor's cell phone number, just in case you need to get in contact with your monitor because you got disconnected or something's wrong with your computer and you can't communicate with them through Zoom or any other means. Then at least as a backup, you have the name of your monitor and a way to contact your monitor if that monitor is not physically in the same location as you are. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for you guys. It's, again, this name is the most critical part of us being able to track you and record your answers and pass it on to the judges as accurately and as efficiently as possible. One last thing that we have is this, and I don't know if other areas have done this before, or other unions or conferences, but as a backup, what we're going to do, what we've tried in the union that we belong to, and it allows us to have a little bit of I guess leeway or a flexibility in the case that your Nearpod sessions, the Scribe's Nearpod session, is unstable. And it's this. So what the monitor is instructed to do is, among other things, like making sure you guys are comfortable, making sure that they are your advocates, so that if you guys have any internet connection issues or any technical issues, that information can be communicated back to the technical team at the NAD. In addition to that, the other responsibility that every monitor is going to have is the responsibility to enter into a spreadsheet the answers that you guys are entering into Nearpod. That will be used as a backup, so that just in case, for whatever reason, if you cannot enter in your answers into Nearpod, or even if you did and there's some issue and Nearpod did not record it, then the judges will be able to get the answers from you in real time through a Google spreadsheet. So let me just show this to you as an example. Let me see if I can find this. I don't know if this is a good one. Okay, it's gonna kind of look something like this. So your monitor, you probably won't even see this. You don't even need to see this, but I'm just gonna share this to you with you guys, so that you know what's happening in the background, so you guys don't freak out that your answer didn't get recorded into Nearpod. So while you're entering in your answers into Nearpod, the monitor or a helper for the monitor is going to be at the same time entering into a spreadsheet that they have been assigned the answers that you're entering into Nearpod. Does that make sense? So that in the event that your Nearpod session crashes or your Nearpod session just for some reason doesn't work, then we will be able to get the answer that your team has was unable to enter into Nearpod into the spreadsheet, and then we're going to share that with the judges. They're going to do this for every single question. Okay, so you don't have to worry about, oh, what about this question or that question? Every single question that is answered, they will enter into a separate Google Sheet your answers, so that there is, you don't have to worry about Nearpod issues. Because of this spreadsheet, we're gonna, if at all possible, unless something catastrophic happens, we're just gonna keep moving with Nearpod. There's gonna be minimal, if any, delays. There aren't gonna be any delays with Nearpod. We're just gonna read the question, answer the question with the 30 seconds or so that's allocated, and then move on, read the answer, and keep moving. Okay? Any questions?
What are you going to do concerning the transmission delay? Are the monitors going to be in contact with you through a different platform?
Yes, great question. So we have, as of right now, 135 teams that are registered for this test. We're gonna have 100. That means we'll have 135 monitors that are going to be communicating back to the team that's reading the question and letting us know if there's any technical issues. We're using, it's still not 100% determined what tool we're going to use, but the monitors will be able to communicate back to us in real time, whether it's WhatsApp or some chat platform or something else, Slack. The exact tool is still yet to be determined. We're going to figure that out with the monitors in a subsequent training session, but the monitors will communicate back to us. Okay. One thing that I don't know if I mentioned, but this is going to be similar to the way you guys have done it in the past, where, okay, so if I break it down, the specific thing that you as a scribe are required to do is log into Nearpod as your team. And if you're in a virtual situation, share your computer screen with the rest of your team. Okay. The question is, how will you know, how will you be able to hear the questions that are being read by the North American Division test readers? I've seen different teams do it different ways, but in general, there's going to be a general Zoom session that the monitors will be able to log into. The monitors are going to log into this general Zoom session where they can hear.
Keith,
Yes.
it'll be on the live stream. It will not be there's not a separate Zoom session where they're reading. It'll be the live stream. And because there'll only be one place it's being read from. But it'll work just like the Zoom session. It's similar, but the family will be viewing it at the same time as the teams can be viewing it and the monitor.
Marilyn, I know there's a live stream and it's going to be on the NAD PBE website. The part that I'm having and I definitely, the family members, the people that are not participating in the testing, they will be able to view the session on the live stream. 100% agree with you on that. However, the monitors and the teams, if they try to watch the session through the live stream on the website, depending on what technology we're using, there may be too significant of a delay from the live stream to be the one where the team uses that. The team, it will be difficult or if maybe impossible for the teams to use a live stream as the source of the audio. Does that make sense? Because it may be delayed. So I think, yes, the parents, directors, coaches, whoever's not actually participating in the test, they can watch the live stream. But I believe the monitors and the teams, they're going to have to join the actual Zoom session so that they can listen to it in real time. Okay. All right. So yeah. So your monitor will be transmitting the audio of the questions being read to your team. If it's through a virtual session, they'll be logging in via their phone and then broadcasting that through their microphone. That's one. Now, if you're in a situation where the team is in one physical location and the monitor is also in that same location, I've seen it where like the team has their own computer with Nearpod on, and then in like a big screen, whether it's a projector or a TV, they log in with that computer and show it on a big screen or a projector and broadcast that Zoom session in the central room. Let's say you guys are participating in the sanctuary. You put that main Zoom session where the questions are being read on a projector, and then the team is in a circle and on their own computer, and then everybody in the team is able to see the Nearpod session on their team computer. Does that make sense? But regardless, you as a scribe, the only thing that you are responsible for is logging into Nearpod, entering in the questions into Nearpod, and then if you're in a virtual situation, then sharing your Nearpod screen with the rest of your team. Okay. I think that's all that I have. Any questions?
There is a couple of questions. One is, what is involved in check-in? When they check in, what exactly do they do?
There may be other things, but specifically for the scribe, what I'm looking for, and Marilyn, you may have something else, but for the scribe, all I'm looking for is that you log into Nearpod with the correct code, your team number, and your team name. That's the specific responsibility for each scribe.
And then what I'm looking for is the monitor checks in, and we said that the monitors are in and connected properly. And we'll go over that with the monitor training, but those are the two pieces we need to check in. We need the team to be in Nearpod properly. We need the monitor to be in Google correctly. So those are the two pieces involved in check-in. And then the next question was about challenges. All of the answers will be going to the judges, so they're all automatically challenged. So you don't need to worry about that. All answers for any one question are judged by one team of judges. So question one goes to one team of two judges to be reviewed. So in that essence, they're all challenged. Now, there have been cases where the question itself is challenged. In other words, the wording of the question, not the answer to the question, but the wording of the question. There will be a link given to the monitors at intermission or at the end. You can go to your monitor and they can fill out the form, and that will be given to the judges, where you write out what the question number and what your reasoning is for challenging the wording of the question itself. So make a note real quick of this is the one, so you remind yourself what it is, but it's at intermission and at the end where you can challenge the wording of a question. And Someone asked about where they got their team Zoom sessions if they were meeting virtually. You get that from your conferences. Work out with your conferences how that works. Every conference is doing it their own way. So we can't answer that question. You'll have to get, if you're a totally virtual team, how you work together. Some of you are doing it for yourselves. Some of you are doing it through your conferences, but work that out with your conference people, your Pathfinder representatives. And that is all the questions I see. I see raised hands. Javier?
If the scribe enters the wrong code on the registration and he's kicked out because the registration is wrong, is he going to be notified or can he correct that?
Yes, he will be notified. Great question. So let me just quickly share what we did during the union level. In short, we're going to let the team know. Number one, I'll kick them out of Nearpod. And number two, that message will be communicated to the monitor of that team. And basically I'll say, hey, team, blah, 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 logged in incorrectly. Please get your, instruct your team's scribe to log in correctly. So I'll communicate that to each monitor. Again, we don't know, the actual technology is still yet to be determined, but we'll be in constant communication with each monitor for all the teams.
Okay, Clifford has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Key. The issue that you've raised with regards to the delay of the live stream to the actual Zoom room, or in our case, we're using Microsoft Teams, was also raised. And so maybe you can give us advice, because I'm thinking there may be a challenge if the scribe shares the Nearpod screen, right, with their teams. Now, if you want the monitor also to share the live stream image, that cannot be shared on one screen or in one Zoom room. What we suggest? What would you suggest? Would we just have to do audio, or how can you overcome that particular issue? Because obviously there's going to be a conflict between the two.
Right. So in the situation where a team is virtual and the team is logged into their own Zoom session, okay, the scribe will be sharing their Nearpod screen with the rest of their team members. So that's the only screen that they're looking at, okay? The audio from the main Zoom session where the official reader is reading the question, that will be shared through the monitor calling in or logging into Zoom from another device, let's say their cell phone, and calling into that main Zoom session, and then putting their phone on speakerphone, and then broadcasting that audio from the main Zoom session to the rest of the team, so that the team, the only thing that they're going to be able to hear or see, they're not going to be able to see anything from the main Zoom session. They're only going to be able to hear the audio from the main Zoom session. I'm not worried about, if you're on a Zoom call, the delay is maybe a second at most. It's very minimal, right? The delay when we were talking about earlier is if the team was going to rely on something like YouTube Live or Facebook Live to view the main session, that delay can be 15, 30 seconds or even more. That would not be ideal. So basically the audio comes from the main Zoom session through a second device by the monitor that the monitor has, and then they're just going to be using their speakerphone to broadcast that audio to the rest of the team.
Sorry, would you mind if I just follow up with
sure,
that?
No problem.
Would it be okay then when we did it, both in our area conference and union, we allowed or we didn't share audio or read it centrally.
Okay.
We had the test on the screen,
Okay.
but the monitor within that room, they read the questions individually for that team. You understand what I'm saying? So they've read it individually. Would that be okay if we sort of do a hybrid model of that? So if the monitor has the thing in his ear and they read it to the team, the questions, you know, in that team.
Marilyn, I'll let you answer that. Yeah.
I can check with Jean. If they can't get the audio, yes, do that. The thing is that not all monitors are good readers. The people who are chosen to read are chosen for a reason. And if they misread the question, that would be a problem. So it seems to me that it would be best to use the audio from the session and only in an emergency.
It worked. It worked for us for all 3 levels. It worked
And
for
I
us.
will check with Jean and I can let you know.
No worries. Thank you.
All right. Sunny.
I'm sorry, I have a specific question related to that actual question. For the French team, is gonna be read it from us locally. Is that correct?
The French team will have its own Zoom session. You guys will read it directly there. You will be separate Zoom session. You'll be doing it at the same time, but it will be a separate Zoom session. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, Sunny.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Marilyn and Keith, for hosting this session. My name is Sunny from Dublin Royals, Ireland. I think I got part of the answers that you've given to Clifford. We are a team. We have 2 teams that are meeting virtually. So 10 people in 2 teams in different places. Do we need to log into the NAD PBE, or what Zoom session are we going to log in? Is it the British Union Conference Zoom session, or is it your own?
It will be our own session. You'll be passed that information once it's all set up.
Okay.
So no, the teams though may have the
Codes.
well, let me it gets confusing. So let me try this and see if I can say it clearly.
Yes,
If
thank
you're
you.
all meeting virtually, you
Yes.
will probably have a Zoom meeting room for your team. That's
Yes, that's
one
right.
Zoom session. Your conference or union sets that up.
Okay.
NAD
Excellent.
doesn't do that. The
Okay.
reading of the questions
Okay.
will be done separately.
By the monitors. Okay.
And we will, not by the monitors, and we got still ask that question of Jean, but they'll be read on a separate session and you'll be passed that information. So in the case that the monitor is sharing their audio, they will have that on like their phone, and they share their phone's speaker to their computer microphone. And that way the kids get the audio from the monitor's phone, and then the monitor on their computer is logged in with the kids on Zoom. That monitor has to have 2 devices, one to share audio and one to monitor the kids, so that, you know, they're making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing and following the rules and so on. So the monitor has a very critical role in making sure they have the audio. And definitely for an emergency, as Clifford said, having them read is fine. We'd prefer they use the audio that is provided. It'll be better, and the timing will be better because they'll get it English and Spanish, and that Spanish time for your kids is going to give them a little bit of time. If you just read one language, you have a shorter amount of time, so you get a little space there. Hopefully I explained that well.
Yes, you did. Following up on that, I asked it on the chat. Do all the team members needs to log into the Nearpod, or just the Scribe?
Just the Scribe. The Scribe is the only one who gets into.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, thank you for taking the questions. I appreciate that. Cheers.
There is some written questions.
And there's Abraham who has his hand raised.
Oh, Abraham, yes.
Marilyn, thank you, Key. A couple of questions. With regard to number of devices, does Scribe require 2 devices?
I didn't hear exactly what you said.
The Scribe should
with
only
regard
need
to the
one device.
Yeah, they just need one.
Yeah.
One device.
Yeah.
Okay, and the monitor requires 2 devices.
Correct.
For a virtual team, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. If the Scribe gets kicked out for some reason, what happens then?
Kicked off of Nearpod?
Team? Yeah, say they lose the internet connection. I'm not so much worried about Nearpod. I'm more worried about internet and Zoom.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Marilyn.
Is it the monitor who then takes over and
yeah, there will be just, we have tried to design a system that has backups to everything. Okay. So at the time the pathfinders are entering in, the Scribe is entering the Nearpod, the monitor or the monitor assistant, because we're allowing the monitor to have an assistant whose job it is to type into Google Sheets the same thing that the kids are typing into Nearpod. Therefore, if one system goes down or the other, we have them. The judges will get both. Okay. The judges get both what's in Nearpod and what the monitor's answered. Sometimes in Nearpod, if the Pathfinder accidentally hits a control key, the answer comes totally garbled, or it'll just give us a dash line. Sometimes you get garbage coming back. By having a backup in from the monitor, we're going to get an answer from somebody on that one question. Maybe the next time it'll be from the other thing, but we will get the same answer. So that's our backup in case you drop out of Nearpod. And that's why we've asked for a technical person to be with the Pathfinders. The Pathfinders are concentrated on the questions. If they drop out, somebody else, the pastor, the coach, the director, gets them back in. But they keep working on the questions because the questions keep going. We're not stopping. So they need to concentrate on the questions.
Right.
And the monitor is their backup in case their answer can't be entered in Nearpod.
Right.
Okay.
Now,
so that's our backup system.
That's exactly the point I'm trying to bring. What happens when the Scribe gets kicked out? There's nobody else able to answer it.
So two things.
If you get if I'm the Scribe and you lose internet connection, there's no way for anybody else to enter the answer.
No,
unless unless the monitor is willing to take.
The monitor
So two things. Let's assume that I am the Scribe and I'm typing in the answer for question number 1. I type it in. Good. Question number 2, and during that same time, while I'm typing in the answer into Nearpod as the Scribe, the monitor is also typing in the same answer that the Scribe entered into Nearpod into a separate spreadsheet. That's one. So the monitor is always entering in answers. If the Scribe gets kicked off of Nearpod for question number 2, the monitor can still type in the answer into the spreadsheet, and that answer will be passed on to the judges. Okay. In the meantime, if the Scribe has to keep trying to log back into Nearpod, and what Nearpod is good at doing is, if I log into Nearpod as a Scribe and I type in my team name, the next time and then I get kicked off, if I just go to nearpod.com again, I forgot if you have to enter in the session code, but once you log into Nearpod, it will bring the Scribe back to the same question, not where you were before, but where the session is at that time. So let's say it takes 3 questions, for example, for that Scribe to log back into Nearpod. Worst case scenario. Then as soon as they log back into Nearpod, they will be put back into Nearpod in the same slide that everybody else is in. If that makes sense. So, for example, in the Southwestern Union, we had 1 or 2 teams, just to let you know, where a significant percentage of their answers were logged in through a Google Sheet and not necessarily through Nearpod. Okay, so you as Scribes, you guys are our primary audience here. Do not worry if your answer does not get logged into Nearpod, because we have a backup for you. We will worry about that, so you guys don't need to worry about that.
I have one comment to make. Since the Scribe for a virtual team isn't there and they're sharing a Nearpod screen, the Pathfinder should audibly say the answer. Okay. If the scribe knows the answer, they should say it out loud. Okay. Maybe it was their question, one of their chapters, and they just know the answer and they get dropped off. If they always audibly say the answer, the monitor can type that in. So it's very important. Scribes, tell your teams that they need to say the answers out loud. Now, a lot of teams are using the chat feature in their Zoom so that whoever's supposed to answer the question is answering it and the scribe is copy pasting it into Nearpod. That's fine. That's great. But say it audibly so the monitor can hear it just in case there's a problem. All right. So just keep that in mind as you're working. Now, we had some written questions before we get to the raised hands. We had a question on the West Coast connecting. We need all the teams to have checked in before worship starts. Okay. So that gives us a 2.5 hour window. The idea is that East Coast check in with the West Coast, just kind of scroll across the globe. If you have never done this before, plan some extra time. If you have done this before, still give yourself about a half an hour to work out any kinks. We obviously can't do everybody exactly the same time. We're going to work as fast as we can so we can stagger, but plan to be in before worship starts. Therefore, you can't start it at 10:30 Eastern time. That's too late. Okay, so I'm suggesting that the West Coast people in the Pacific time zone maybe start at maybe 45 minutes before before worship service, giving you enough time. The British teams, the East Coast, the Atlantic Union, those unions come in first. We get you guys taken care of. We're a small team, and we will want to take care of everyone. But if you guys stagger in, that'll be great. Hopefully that answered that written question. Now we have a hand raised by Jesus.
Okay, thank you. If the team is physically, in the same location with the monitor, but for any instance, we lose the internet connection at all, for both, the monitor and the Nearpod. So what's going to be the backup, in this case? I mean, the monitor, maybe, they could be using a cell phone, or what's going to work?
If the monitor has a hotspot and they connect via hotspot instead of using your church internet, that gives you redundancy. Okay, you'll have two connections. So work that out with your monitor, how best to use it. Because yes, I know my church's internet is flaky. I would never use that as a monitor at my church. It's not dependable enough. So like when I'm teaching Pathfinders, I use my phone on a hotspot at my church. It just doesn't work well. So if you can build in some redundancy, think about your team and your specific technology and figure out how you can build redundancy in for the kids.
Thank you.
Right. I think the general answer to that is somehow the monitor needs, if the team is kicked off of Nearpod for an extended period of time, somehow the monitor has to be able to communicate the answers that the team has for each question into that Google spreadsheet. That doesn't need to be in real time, right? So you need to be able to write the answers in, the monitor needs to be able to write the answers into that Google spreadsheet. It can be one question late or 2 questions late, but I think I saw some suggestion, maybe write it down on a piece of paper. And then, a few questions later, the monitor can write the answer into their assigned Google spreadsheet. But that's the worst case scenario. I think in general, unless something catastrophic happens, we're not going to stop the Nearpod session. The goal is to keep going with the Nearpod session and have different ways that the monitor can communicate that answer over to the judges. The one question that I think you raised it, I think that's a good question. So let's say the internet connection goes down, and if the monitor is able to transmit the audio or get the audio somehow, and I think that's why maybe like a telephone call into the Zoom session, the main Zoom session, may be the best way to do it because it doesn't rely on an internet connection. Then at least the kids can hear the question that's being read. Even if they might not be able to see the question, they at least can hear the questions being read. Again, that's not ideal. It's not the best case scenario, but in the worst case scenario, that can happen. That's a possibility. Yep.
We have a hand up from Clemente.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify two things. So the main Zoom meeting where the questions and the answers are going to be projected, is that going to be provided to the monitors or like a separate email?
It'll be provided to the directors, the coaches, and the monitors. We want to pass the information as best we can to everybody we can.
So yeah, okay. So there's going to be the Nearpod system where the team has their own computer. The monitors are going to be in a separate Zoom meeting, and there's going to be another Zoom meeting where the questions and answers are going to be projected, right?
That's right. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And the team, just to, again, because this is a meeting for the scribes, the scribe, you don't need to worry about going into the main session. You only need to worry about logging into Nearpod and then sharing if you're virtual, sharing your screen with the rest of your team. Okay. The main session, that's something that the monitors are going to worry about. You as a scribe don't need to worry about that.
Okay, yeah, and another question we had, if for some reason our internet connection goes down, and for example our main meeting goes down, how are we going to access the questions?
So that's what I was trying to explain earlier. I think the best way to do it is for the monitor to call in to the main Zoom session. That's possible. That might be an option. I think you guys need to figure that out on your own. But if you call into a Zoom session, the main Zoom session, even if the internet goes down, at least everybody can hear the questions being read.
I guess the takeaway here is for the directors who are online here and your scribes, communicate with your monitor. Make sure you've communicated with your monitor and you guys have everybody understands their role, what they're providing. Some churches have been putting it up on the main screen at their church. Well, if you're going to do that, you have to work out how that's being done. Do they have a separate system that logs in or that gets into the Zoom session? So work with your monitor. Not every situation is the same. We can't give you a straight answer to this question. Work with your monitor, your situation, your team's technology, but make sure it's redundant. Have a backup plan. I guess that's the biggest takeaway here. Have a backup plan. If this breaks, this is what I do. This breaks, this is what I do. Just like as you were at NASA and you were going to the moon, okay? Plan very carefully how you're going to do things. Don't assume your technology is all going to be clean and going to work. This is a long session. You're going to be on for 4 or 5 hours, and the probability of getting knocked off is pretty high. So what you're going to do, who's going to get back on? How are you going to do it if you're together? If you're individual, how are you going to do it? Do you phone each other? Do you do a conference call? What is it you do as your backup? Make a plan. Therefore, at the time, you're not scrambling to think, oh no, now what? Now what? No, you will sleep much better the nights before if you have a plan worked out on how you're going to connect. What happens? Work through all the what ifs. Do that as a team. Talk it over. Work with your director. Don't assume that somebody else is taking care of it. Okay? I guess that's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, thank you. And then one last question. So the times that you provided in the schedule, those are Eastern times, right?
Correct.
Yes.
We had a question because we're over here in the mountain time. So does that mean that we have to check in at 6 in the morning?
Well, 6 in the morning is when you can start. That's the earliest you can start. But by 10, you should be working on it. So there's a 2-hour give and take in there. So between 6 and 8, your time, you should, you could start logging in at 8 Mountain Time, and then you would be okay. If you've done this before and you don't think you're going to have any problems. So kind of gauge your team. But yeah, we expect the West Coast to come in after 8, and we expect the East Coast to come in 8:30. Okay, that's sort of the idea.
So we have like a 2 hours time span to log in, and if we log in later than 8, it's fine.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just have to be all the teams need to be logged in, ideally before 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Like Marilyn said, some teams will start logging in at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Some will start at 9, some at 10. But
we want everybody in by 10:30 so that you can pay
Right.
attention to the church service and not be worried about it.
right. Okay.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.
So this meeting was for scribes. Just to clarify, to pound this into the scribes' heads. The most important thing for takeaway from this meeting is make sure on the day of the test you log in with your assigned team number and put that into the name field, and then your team name into the other optional name field in Nearpod. This is the most critical part for each scribe, because that's where we saw the most issues, is the login process. Not because it was difficult, but some teams were logging in with their team name in the name field. Some teams were logging in with, who knows, personal name, the scribe's name in the name field. It needs to be the team number in the name field and your team name in the optional name field. Okay.
I guess my main takeaway of this is build in redundancy to all your connectivity for all your technology. Build in redundancy. At the monitors training, we'll try to help them do their redundancy. But yes, make sure you communicate with that monitor. Some people asked about sharing screens. Whoever is in charge of your Nearpods has to be able to share their screen. That has, especially if you're virtual, you got to share the screen. And for social distancing, everybody can't be around the computer. So again, that screen has to go someplace if you're in person. So work that out, practice it, set up a session and practice. You can get into Nearpod and create your own little account and practice if you've never done Nearpod before. For our Irish brothers and sisters, I believe they have not done Nearpod before. If you need to, we can help you walk through how to use Nearpod, and you can build a practice session so your kids can have at least practice before the day of the event. It's very important that they feel comfortable with the technology, that all they have to worry about is getting the right answers.
Okay. Daryl, do you have a question?
Just a comment. We found in Potomac, and everybody probably is maybe aware of this, every device that you have in your home is connected even when you have it, when you think it's turned off. So my iPad sitting here with the cover closed is actually absorbing bandwidth. So we've had a lot of questions raised about staying connected. For those of you with questionable connections, physically power off as many devices, the Xbox, everything that's in the house. We found in Potomac that dramatically helped with some of our teams that were having connectivity issues. That should make it a little more comfortable for our scribes if they can manage that in their homes.
That is so
Great
true.
advice,
So
yeah.
very true. Excellent point. The Pathfinder can't be in their bedroom doing their virtual thing and the family streaming the church service out of Loma Linda. Okay, that will not work. They will knock them off. All right, they need to have the internet for themselves. So scribes, check with your family. They know how hard you've been studying. Make sure that everything is off. All right, that nobody else is using any bandwidth during this one time. Ask them for that special favor.
Also, if you're the scribe, listen, scribes, on your computer, please do not have any other programs running. There was one scribe a long time ago. I won't name the person, but he had about 30 different tabs open on his browser during the Nearpod testing, and his Nearpod was crashing. And we're like, what's going on? He shared a screen, and we found out that he had 30 tabs on Chrome. So the only two programs you should have open is Zoom if you're virtual. That's one. And two, some sort of internet browser that's connected to Nearpod. No other website should be opened on your computer as a scribe, okay? 2 things, that's it. Nearpod and Zoom, that's it.
That's important. We're not just saying that, Scribe. This is really important. You are the person most responsible for your team getting us the answer, okay? So this is something that you should take very seriously. You know, oh yeah, the adults told me that. I know we sometimes are a pain, but it's really, really important that you have the best connection possible. For those of you who joined a little late, because I see at least 20 of you joined before we started, I need all of the scribes to go into the chat and put their name. We're taking roll to make sure all the teams are covered. So if you have not done that, please go into the chat, put your name and say you're the scribe, so I can know that you were attending.
And I just put into the chat the link to the checklist for the scribes. We'll probably send that out as in an email as well. But if you want, you can download this checklist for yourself. All right. Any other questions?
It's about time for us to wrap up. If you have some specific questions for us, I think all of you directors have received emails from us, either from myself, from Key, or from Miguel. Send us an email. We try to answer them within 12 hours. So you will get some communication from us. I have 11 teams whose monitors have not been assigned. We're working on getting those for you. So if you contact your monitor, make sure that they know what they're doing, that they know where they're going, that they know how to get to where you're testing. Some of you are in homes, some of you are at the church school, some of you are virtual. Each monitor needs to know that information. So talk to them, work with them, all right? All right, well, I think we're gonna wrap up. Sherilyn, who's one of the people on our list here, who is also on the tech team, could you have closing prayer for us?
Sure thing. Let's bow our heads. Lord, thank you so very much for each one of these Pathfinder scribes, as well as the leaders that are on with us today. Be with us as we do our final preparations for our big division level test this next weekend. We put the technology in your hands and ask you to watch over it and give us success next weekend. Again, thank you for each one of these Pathfinders and their leaders who have taken time to be with us this afternoon. Go with us as we leave this meeting. Amen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Greetings from Montreal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Tech team, if you would stay on after the meeting.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you download the chat to Marilyn.
Right, we need to download the chat and stop recording. So do you want to handle